When it first came out, I really trusted the Ultimate Guide based on the description, and a lot of other people did too. But as time went on, I noticed more and more things that this book gets wrong, and at this point, a lot of people feel the same as I do, but way too many people still trust this book way too much. Some people even use things in this book as evidence for theories like Charlotte being the first victim or Stitchline Games, despite this book not implying either of those at all. While Charlotte very much is William's first direct victim, even if Elizabeth died after her, we know almost for a fact that Mrs. Afton died before anyone else, meaning the Ultimate Guide was just saying Charlotte was the first child William directly killed. And it was also talking about that in a theory section, so it doesn't really prove anything anyway. And Stitchline Games is not implied because even before the Ultimate Guide came out, it was already a fact that FNAF 6 took place in the Stitchline. But this book says it, and people think it confirms Stitchline Games? It doesn't. Hell, maybe Stitchline Games is true, but the Ultimate Guide doesn't confirm it or even imply it. But even if it did, there's too much in this book that is simply incorrect, and I thought I'd do a Faster Fright style video where I know details I find in this book, but instead of finding details, I'm going to read the entire Ultimate Guide and take notes of things that this book gets wrong. So now, let's get into it. Number 1. On page 7, on the map for FNAF 1, we see Golden Freddy's position in the office, which is accurate, but what it gets wrong is that it shows Golden Freddy with a purple hat. While Golden Freddy certainly is connected with Fredbear, Golden Freddy himself has a black hat, not purple. Another thing I notice on the map is that the position where Chica and Freddy start is swapped. While this may just be a representation of them being on this stage and not being specific to their actual positions, on the stage camera in FNAF 1, at first glance it does look like Chica is in the middle, and the order, if that were true, would be the same as it is on the map. But in actuality, Freddy is in the middle. Like I said, it might not be trying to replicate the actual order, so I decided not to have it as its own detail, but it's still worth mentioning because given that it's accurate, if you don't pay enough attention, I feel like it was trying to replicate the actual order and got it wrong. Also, just as a side note, this is not an inconsistency, it's just something I observed. At the beginning of every chapter, the general knowledge section for each topic is called the Freddy Scoop. Given that in the Scoop, FNAF as a game series exists, and Mandy's blog is called the M&M Scoop, it's very possible she named it after this from the Freddy Files, since it would probably exist in Universe 2 and just could be her inspiration for the name. Number 2. On page 14, the beginning of the FNAF 2 chapter, it said that there are 11 animatronics that normally wander the pizzeria in FNAF 2, and they can either kill you or crash your game if you look at them for too long. But it says that there are also 4 animatronics that are separate, which are Shadow Bonnie, Shadow Freddy, JJ, and Endo 02. The issue here is that it says some of the main 11 are the ones who crash the game, and it separates that character trait from the other 4, despite the fact that 2 of the other 4 are actually the ones who crash the game. Sorry if I'm explaining this in a really confusing way, but I should have the image up on the screen so you can see what I mean. What's even weirder is that on page 19 they actually get it correct, so what the hell? Number 3. On page 16, when talking about the nightmare sequences when you are Freddy in FNAF 2, the book says that the game crashes after the first one. This is simply not correct. This doesn't happen at all. Number 4. On page 18, it said that Bonnie can come into your office from either the vent or the hallway. While I don't actually remember if it's possible for Bonnie to get in the hallway, this is still inconsistent because on page 20, the mapping for the Wizards, it's never mentioned at all that Bonnie even appears in the hallway, let alone attacks from it. Number 5. One of the reasons I originally believed this book to be valid was because the mic trap section of the book was actually removed. However, the issue is that the section about Purple Guy being Phone Guy still remains on page 27. It's also mentioned that it's possible the player is Purple Guy, which is also impossible. This is because we already know William Afton to be the killer, and a lot of things point to us being Michael Afton, well besides Jeremy. And Phone Guy, being Purple Guy, was debunked by FNAF 3, and also Scott himself in the lead up to Ultimate Custom Night. Number 6. On page 28, it said that FNAF 3 is 30 years after horrific events at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, but we don't know what events that's referring to. This is entirely incorrect. FNAF 3 is stated in the very description of the game to take place 30 years after Freddy's closed. Very obviously meaning 30 years after the last Freddy's closed. FNAF 3 is 30 years after FNAF 1, but apparently this book doesn't understand that. Number 7. Actually, I stand corrected. This book's knowledge of FNAF is more inconsistent than the storyline under Stitchline Games. On page 29, it's stated that Phone Dude explains that Fazbear's Fright is opening 30 years after Freddy's closed. Not only is this completely contradictory, but it's also completely wrong. While it is true that Fazbear's Fright is 30 years after the closing of Freddy's, Phone Guy straight up doesn't say that at all in the game. Number 8. On page 35, it's stated that you can avoid Phantom Foxy's jump scare by pulling up the camera or maintenance panel. While I'm pretty sure if his jump scare isn't triggered and you flip up the camera when he's in your office, he does despawn, you aren't able to reach the maintenance panel before the jump scare, meaning you can't avoid the jump scare by flipping it up. Number 9. On page 28, when talking about the Stage 01 minigame, Spring Bonnie is referred to as Springtrap, despite this being Spring Bonnie before it and William Afton became one. This isn't Springtrap, so this is wrong. Number 10. This is the issue that made me completely lose faith in the Ultimate Guide. On page 42, it's stated that we apparently know for sure that both the Shadow animatronics help the children. This is incorrect. The book says the reason we know Shadow Freddy helps the kids is because he leads the animatronics to a room where William Afton comes out and destroys them. But it fails to explain how this is helping them. In Ultimate Custom Night, it's revealed that Shadow Freddy is a being made up of negative emotions, specifically ones that come from William. In FNAF 6, Henry flat out states that Shadow Freddy's appearance in Follow Me was a trap for William to destroy them and put their spirits together, trapping the spirits together. This is not helping them in any way, that's torturing them. And while I believe Shadow Bonnie does help the kids, the book saying that here causes another problem. Number 11. Later in the book, when talking about Shadow Bonnie's appearance in FNAF AR, it stated that it's very possible Shadow Bonnie wants to kill us to harvest more Remnant. But according to the book, Shadow Bonnie apparently factually wants to help the kids? Excuse me, but what? Shadow Bonnie wants to help set spirits free, so he kills people and traps their spirits within the Remnant? Sure. My ass he does that. Like, that's not... you just contradicted yourself, but come on. Number 12. On pages 56 and 57, it's stated that this location takes place at Circus Baby's Pizza World. This is incorrect, as Circus Baby's Pizza World is the restaurant, but the events of Sister Location are at Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rental. Number 13. On page 67, it's said that Funtime Foxy in Sister Location Custom Night works the same as he does in FNAF 1, but this is not true. In FNAF 1, Foxy came from the left, and if you close the door on him, you have to check the left hallway camera to activate his running. In Sister Location Custom Night, Foxy comes from the right, and you don't need to watch him run down the hall. Number 14. Page 69 of all pages is a complete show. The page claims it's possible Michael is helping William. It says it's possible that Michael is the player of FNAF 1, 2, 3, and Sister Location, but doesn't even entertain the idea of him being the player of FNAF 4 despite it being confirmed by the logbook and the FNAF 1 phone calls in FNAF 4 that he 100% is the player, turning off the animatronics facial recognition or collecting Remnant? What? And it even says that the odor could connect to Michael's decomposing body. I've already clowned on Sister Location before 1 in a video dedicated to Sister Location after 1, so I'm not going to go too into it right now, but that's not even mentioning that the page says that Mike gets fired for odor in FNAF 2, but says nothing about FNAF 1. This page is terrible. Utter garbage is the best way to describe page 69, which is surprising. I would have expected to like page 69, but nope, it's dog shit. Number 15. On page 77, Scrap Baby's line from After Her Salvage is quoted, but the page gets the line wrong. The page says, "You don't really know your employer, do you?" But the real line is, "You don't really know who your employer is, do you?" Number 16. On page 86, it's said that in Fruity Maze Level 3, you can't use the magnets or slug power-ups. This is incorrect. You can use both of those, but you can't use the speed power-up. The book says the opposite of what is actually true. Number 17. Also on page 86, it's said that at the end of Fruity Maze Level 3, Springtrap is behind Susie. This is in the same vein as detail number 9, where it's not Springtrap because Afton's not trapped. He's just William Afton in the Spring Bonnie suit. He's not trapped, which is why Springtrap is called Springtrap. That's why he gets that name. He's not trapped right now, so he's not Springtrap. Number 18. This is another detail that just destroyed my faith in this book. On page 89, it said that the poster in Scraptrap's alleyway screen bears resemblance to Heracles Hospital from The Man in Room 1280. But not only have we never seen Heracles Hospital before, but this poster is literally of an opera. The writing at the top of the poster says, "One Night at the Opera." Not only that, this building doesn't even match the description of Heracles Hospital in the Manor Room 1-80. This building has 2 lion statues on each side. Heracles Hospital has 1 large statue of Cerberus, the I can't freaking speak today. The monstrous watchdog of the underworld. Cerberus is a 3-headed dog. Do I really have to explain why these 2 buildings couldn't be any different? This just goes to show that people will believe anything. Somehow people read this and believed Stitchline Games instantly because of it, despite not even paying attention to the image. People just blindly followed this, and no one even thought to check what Heracles Hospital was actually described as. And the people who did read the Manor Room 1-80 since this came out somehow missed that these buildings are completely different from each other. They are not the same building at all. Number 19. On page 92, Susie's backstory is explained, and the page says that Susie's story is further explained in Coming Home. This is completely false. While Susie in Coming Home is of course a parallel to the Susie we know, her backstory is completely different and it follows nothing we know about her except her possible parallels and of course a connection with Chica. Number 20. On page 105, it says that in Ultimate Custom Night, Plushtrap goes away when you click him. In actuality, you just need to look at him for a couple seconds and he goes away. You don't have to click him. Number 10. This. Just read it. You will understand. Or rather, you won't. And that's the problem. Number 22, on page 108, it says that Scraptrap comes through the middle vent in Ultimate Custom Night, and on page 109, we also see that he comes from the right vent, which is correct. But Scraptrap coming from the middle vent is incorrect. In actuality, it's Springtrap that comes from the middle vent. Number 23, there are a couple more issues on page 109 as well. First of all, it says that the puppet appears at the prize corner, when it is actually in the kitchen with Chica. The page also treats characters that are visible outside the door as in the office, like Nightmare, Nightmare Fredbear, and the side vent characters. But then why is Jacko Chica included there? She's also not even visible in the doors. Furthermore, none of the vent animatronics are included as inside the office, despite the Fredbears and side vent animatronics being counted. Not even Mangle and Withered Chica, who actually do go into your office. What the hell is this? Number 24. On page 112, the book says that it's a possibility that the face in Ultimate Custom Night is the one you should not have killed. This is false. It's not possible, it's objectively factual. Like, Scott literally said himself that his son was the face of the one you should not have killed. Like, it's pretty blatant. Like, it's not a possibility, it's a fact. Number 25. On page 116, it said that the prize box can reward you with a jump scare from either Plushtrap or Bonbon. This is incorrect, as the jump scare can only ever be from Plushtrap, and it's never Bonbon. Number 26. On page 137, it said that the Easter egg of the endoskeleton under the grate is in Ennard Vent Repair, but it's actually in Mangle's. It's also stated that the Nightmare Endo has an appearance in Mangle's Vent Repair when it's actually in Ennard's. This page basically just got it backwards. Number 27. Page 174 claims that it's even remotely possible that Vanny is Tape Girl, despite that Curse of Dreadbear makes it abundantly clear that we play as Vanny in FNAF VR. Vanny being Tape Girl is genuinely one of the worst FNAF theories ever, and the Ultimate Guide claiming it to be possible, and even saying it's likely, shows that it just isn't trustworthy at all. Number 28. Page 176 says that the Scooper was made as a remnant extractor as revealed in FNAF 6. This is incorrect as the Scooper actually does the exact opposite and is a remnant injector. Number 29. Page 186 claims Jason to be Marla's half-brother. In the novel trilogy, it's never stated that Jason is her half-brother. I actually checked, and it specifically states that Jason is Marla's little brother, not half-brother. Number 30. Page 198 claims that 2 of the kids in the 4th closet, Susie and Fritz, share names with the FNAF 6 gravestones. On the same page, we see a preview for the 4th Closet graphic novel, since at the time the Ultimate Guide came out, the 4th Closet graphic novel hadn't released yet. While Gabriel isn't mentioned in the original 4th Closet, this very same preview on page 189 has Michael introducing Carlton to Susie, Cassidy, and Gabriel. This would make the number of 2 kids sharing the names with the gravestones actually 3, or 4 if you count Cassidy. But this book largely ignores the Cassidy code and just mildly hints at the logbook explaining the missing name on the gravestone. Anyway, my point is that the page says only Fritz and Susie are on the gravestones, but show Gabriel on the same page. This book is wrong. End of story. Number 31. On page 190, it said that Fazbear Frights showed stuff from time-traveling ball pits to framed kidnappers and everything in between. This is of course referencing the elements of the first and last story and every story in between, of course. The issue here is that the time-traveling ball pit is mentioned here, and again on the very next page, and also a couple other times, despite the fact that it's confirmed in Epilogue 8 and 11 that the ball pit does not time travel. It puts you in the perspective of someone else's memories. Number 32. Page 199 has an image that depicts the new kid, but it shows Kelsey with brown hair. In the new kid, his hair is blonde. Number 33. While the Fazbear Frights section of the book remains mostly accurate, there are a few things that are incorrect. For one, on page 208, when talking about hide and seek, it said that Toby can see the shadow in the mirror, but no one else can. This is incorrect. A dude at Freddy's named Reggie is always able to see the shadow for whatever reason. It's never really explained why, but he just can. There's also a scene where Toby's in the bathroom and another kid walks in, sees the shadow in the mirror, and gets scared of it. Yes, other people can see it. Number 34. On page 210, Julius is mistakenly referred to as Julian when talking about his exosuit. I don't really know what else to say. It's kind of simple. Number 35. On page 214, it's implied that it's possible for Hudson to be the night guard from FNAF 3. The reason this is impossible is mostly due to how different Fazbear's Fright is, as well as Springtrap being brought to the attraction before the phone system is installed. Not to mention Hudson dies the first day Springtrap appears. The Ultimate Guide says the story matches FNAF 3 to a T, despite a lot of it really not matching at all. Number 36. Page 216 talks about Jump for Tickets and mentions how Dee Dee's fishing game is mentioned in the story, which is a reference to Dee Dee's fishing hole in FNAF World. The issue is that the story actually says the game is called Dee Dee's Fishing Hole, exactly like FNAF World, but the Ultimate Guide thinks the game in Jump for Tickets is called Dee Dee's Fishing Game. Like, it actually thinks that's the name of the game, but it's actually Dee Dee's Fishing Hole. Number 37. The reason people believe this book to be canon in the first place is due to the description claiming it would have information from the, quote, Fazbear Entertainment Archives. This is not saying all the information is reliable, because it's from the Fazbear Archives. It's literally just referring to a specific chapter where we are given Fazbear recipes, phone guide transcripts, blueprints, tape reel transcripts, the whole help wanted legal disclaimer, and the FNAF AR emails. But for whatever reason, even after the book came out and the very reason people believed this book would be valid was debunked, no one cared and just went along as if nothing happened. Number 38. Page 263 claims that Ballora appears in Help Wanted. In actuality, Ballora is one of the few characters from the first 5 games who was not included in Help Wanted, others being characters like Nightmare Mangle, both the Golden Freddy's, and a couple others. Number 39. On page 267, L-Chip is stated to be in Ultimate Custom Night, but only as a reference, despite being a fully customizable enemy in the game, not just referenced. Number 40. Another thing page 267 gets wrong is Eleanor being in 1:35 AM. While she is involved in the story, she's also involved in many of the other stories that aren't referenced here, and she doesn't directly appear in any of them, including 1:35 AM. So she shouldn't be listed as appearing in 1:35 AM. But you may also notice that her appearance in To Be Beautiful is not listed here, despite being the main antagonist of the story. Number 41. Stitchline Games is not even implied in this book. People need to understand that. But what is implied is something we know for a fact is wrong. Page 268 claims that Ella was in the Silver Eyes trilogy, which is correct, but it claims that the doll was later mass-produced. Later, as in following the events of the trilogy. This is just factually wrong, and it shows that we really can't trust this book, especially not to confirm something that was never even implied in the book at all. And I know I hate on Stitchline Games a lot, but Tales from the Pizzaplex is coming out the same day that I'm releasing this video, and according to a lot of people, it confirms Stitchline Games. I don't know if it does, because at the time I'm making this video, I haven't read the book, but I do genuinely think Stitchline Games is possible. But if it is true, it causes a lot, and I mean a lot, of plot holes. My point is just that even if Stitchline Games is true, there are 2 things that I will never change my opinion on. Number 1, Stitchline Games is bad, even if it's canon. Even though it fills in some gaps, it genuinely destroys the entire functionality of the storyline. While the FNAF storyline is complicated, there are little to no plot holes. Unless Stitchline Games is true. In that case, there's a lot. But number 2, even if Stitchline Games is true, the Ultimate Guide does not confirm, nor does it even imply it, because it is not reliable. Not to mention, it doesn't even imply it even if it was reliable, it doesn't imply it at all, but yeah. Number 42. I didn't know there was a Friday Night Funkin' 2. Number 43. Page 270 recognizes the Freddles' appearance in Curse of Dreadbear, but fails to mention the fact that the Freddles are in Freddy's hard mode level in the main Help Wanted game. Meaning Help Wanted should have been listed, but it's not. Number 44. Page 272 claims that Jacko Bunny is in Ultimate Custom Night, and Jacko Chica is not. Jacko Chica actually is in Ultimate Custom Night, while Jacko Bunny is not. Number 45. Also on page 272, the image shown for JJ is just of Balloon Boy, and not JJ. Number 46. Page 274 claims that Lucky Boy's sign says, "I'm a lucky boy." This is correct, but next to that we get a small piece of art for Lucky Boy, and the sign in that image says, "It's your lucky day," which is not the correct line. It boggles my mind how they got this wrong despite it literally saying the correct line right next to the sign, to where they have the sign. Like, how do they mess this up, seriously? Number 47. Page 277 says that Nightmarion is in FNAF AR. He is not. End of story. Number 48. Springtrap is said both on pages 40 and 283 to contain the corpse of William Afton. The book claims that William is dead and possessed the Spring Bonnie suit. If this book supposedly did prove Stitchline Games, this would contradict it, since in Faster Frights, William is alive up until after Ultimate Custom Night. Number 49. Finally, I just wanted to acknowledge that there are a lot more inconsistencies in the animatronics inventory section when it comes to where the characters appear. They're not all important enough to have as all separate details, so I'll just give some examples. The Wizards aren't listed as being in Ultimate Custom Night, the Arc Foxy being a plush of Captain Foxy, and therefore technically being in Curse of Dreadbear isn't mentioned, and there's a lot of characters who appear in Faster Fright stories that aren't listed under their name, and some characters who have media listed that they're not even in. And that's all. Those are all the inconsistencies and mistakes that I found in the FNAF Ultimate Guide. Honestly, I found about 50 inconsistencies in this book, and with that many mistakes, is it really logical to trust this book? No, it's not. So I don't want to see anybody commenting on my theory saying that I'm wrong because the Ultimate Guide says something different. The Ultimate Guide is a mess, full of mistakes, and it follows the trend of the 2 Freddy Files books that came before. But that's everything I wanted to talk about for this video. As I said, the day this video is coming out is also the day that Tales from the Pizzaplex comes out, so expect a summary for Frailty probably tomorrow. Hell, when this video goes out, I'm probably either reading Frailty or waiting for my book to come. So stay tuned for the summaries coming in the future. But anyways, guys, hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, then please do leave a like and subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, guys!